the planet. Welcome everybody to this dialogue to recognize the role of the smallest one on the planet and reflection on the beauty, complexity, and challenge. Welcome to feel, internalize, live, and share our fears and revitalize ourselves with the passion, emotion, and power of art, music, painting, and poetry. Welcome to listen, talk, and seek the path to recover our fullness of life, to understand and assume the challenge of the present for caring the health and preserve the life of our home, of our planet. In this time of civilization crisis and climate change, death due to lack of access to effective antibiotics, an accelerated increase in antimicrobial resistance due to inappropriate and expensive and excessive use of antibiotics. We need to understand the war of the most tiny living organism on our planet, microbes. We need learning from the community narrative. We need to be moved by the tireless, continuous, and persistent creativity of the daily life, getting inspiration by seeing, feeling, and making visible the results of the dialogues of knowledge and practice between academy, indigenous people, social movements, and artists. Art, microbes, and planetary health is a response to the present need. The need for recognizing that the invisible, challenging, complex world, mysterious world of bacteria requires to be addressed, investigated from multiple perspectives and many knowledge systems. Art, microbes, and planetary health. Dialogue is an attempt to find the path toward the preservation of life, to stop walking to the path of illness and death. It's time for us to declare peace with Mother Earth, for a new method focused on harmony, and life for all. Human beings, animals, plants, visible and invisible beings, seeking the path of balance and harmony, preserve our internal realms, and thanks to the beat of the other living organism. On behalf of planetary health, Saúde of the planet, Brazil, Reimagine Resistant, Ensamble del Viento, and React Latino American, we warmly welcome you all. We thanks everybody who makes this dialogue possible. Let me now to pass the conduct of the dialogue to our facilitators, Mary and Jeanette, artists committed to life, to the dreams of children, to the dream of our boys and girls, to the dance of life and the health of the planet. Welcome.
Thank you, Arturo. Welcome, everybody. My name is Mary. I'm a pharmacist and a textile artist, and a great love collaborating across all of the borders and disciplines and around the globe. And my co-facilitator is Janet Debus. She's a ceramic artist from Australia, an inspiring teacher and mentor to young artists, and a very accomplished coordinator of fascinating international collaborations in ceramics. The program is in 3 parts. The first part is presentations and 2 music videos on dancing with bacteria. The second part is a dialogue between the presenters with the opportunity for your comments and questions to come in if necessary. And the third part is a collaboration between all of us as the audience and the participants. Janet is going to facilitate the chat function in particular. So over to you, Janet, for instructions to the audience.
Okay. It's the chat on the Zoom page is pretty simple. It's down the bottom. The menu runs across the bottom of your screen, and the chat's about halfway across, and you will see it come up as a separate dialogue box. I've already put in that, sending it out to everybody, instructions for what we would like to have happen when presentations are being made. Rather than interrupting the flow of that conversation or that presentation, could you put any questions or ideas that come to mind? There may be things that it suddenly you see a connection between what the speaker is saying and some experience that perhaps you've had, then put it into the chat here. And could you also put the name of the person that you would like to address that to, so that we can pull together these threads and actually have a conversation about it, not just text in the chat text boxes. There's also been a Padlet, which is a separate method of actually collecting comments and responses from participants. And that Padlet, the link I've put in the instructions for the chat. So if you go back through chat, you'll come to my reasonably long post, and you'll see there is a link to the Padlet in that. When you click on that, you'll see a number of small screens, text boxes that come up with questions in them. These are basic questions that Mary has raised, relating to how we manage to move on from a place of reception of ideas from all of these splendid speakers that we have to a place of action, because often the ideas are very, very big, but we're all individuals. We're getting together, but we are still living individual lives. So how do we actually put into action some of the ideas? How can we start to affect that? And so this discussion will be conducted on the Padlet. And if you use the steps that I've written down there, you will be able to actually post your ideas, your responses to the questions that Mary has initially posed. And if you have questions of your own, by all means, please post them. I think that's all fairly clear. Please write your name first in the subject on the text boxes on the Padlet, so that we know who the question is coming from or who the comment is coming from. I think that that's about all we need to say with that. It's fairly, if you have any doubts, just go back and check my posting at the beginning of the chat.
Okay, and when we get to the third part of the program, Janet will demonstrate how to make a post on the Padlet. Okay. Okay, so let's get into the program. Our first presentation is a video excerpt from a musical composition called Dancing with Bacteria, that was written by Alexis Zapata and his group. It's a multidisciplinary artistic production in 10 movements that explores the intricate relationships between bacteria, humanity, and the planet. This particular excerpt we'll hear now is called Our Planet, Our Health, with Ensemble de Viento. Thank you, Juan Carlos.
Es tiempo para que la humanidad pueda comprender que tenemos algo más que la disyuntiva de ir a la guerra o rendirnos ante las bacterias. Tenemos, en último término, que aprender a danzar con ellas. Se trata de una danza compleja en la que nos mantenemos a una respetuosa distancia, pero que nunca cesa, porque no podemos vivir el uno sin el otro.
¿Quién eres tú para permitir que la humanidad pierda el miedo hacia las bacterias? ¿Y quién eres tú para enseñarnos que no podemos vivir el uno sin el otro?
Soy la sagrada danza de la hermandad profunda para reconocernos y para comprendernos. Hoy ay Pachamama, cantarán mis latidos, ya nada nos separa, somos fuego y espíritu. Soy la sagrada danza.
Please, Mary.
Thank you. Thank you. Dancing with bacteria. Wonderful. Thank you. Let me introduce you to Satya Sivaraman. He's a journalist, a philosopher, a writer. He's also a health communications consultant based in India, but he's worked on many projects in Southeast Asia and South America in particular. He works with React Asia Pacific and globally, and is involved in finding new ways of conceptualizing the problem of antibiotic resistance, explaining technical issues to wider audiences, and understanding resistance in an anthropological and cultural context. Okay, Satya, dancing with bacteria, an alternative metaphor of our times. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you very much. And I'm sharing the screen, and I hope all of you can see it. Is it visible?
Yes.
Mhm.
Thanks also for that wonderful video, the actual dance. I'm only talking about the dance in my presentation, but the video was even better because it actually demonstrated what this is all about. Primarily, my presentation is about how dancing with bacteria is a metaphor for our times in the context of antimicrobial resistance and about how we deal with bacteria. But as I will present in my talk right now, that bacteria have to be seen not only from the lens of disease or death or destruction, but from a very, very wide range of perspectives. A lot of it has got to do with their being essential to life. Ever since the germ theory of disease 200 years ago, the world has understood bacteria as the cause of numerous infections. This insight led to the advent of antibiotics to cure these diseases, and save thousands of human lives. The germ theory was, however, also colored by the imagination of the 19th century. In the midst of the Industrial Revolution, the machine and the discipline of engineering were held as the highest achievements of humanity. In many ways, that is true even today, though the life sciences are being recognized as being as important, if not more important, than the sciences based on engineering alone. The idea of the human body as a machine is so deeply ingrained in our medical practice that the body is considered like an automobile that could be repaired by doctors with the right tools, spare parts, detergents, and lubricants. In the 19th century was also a time, of course, it's a long process, it's not just the 19th century, but it was crystallized in this period where rigid identities were imposed on citizens, on all human beings, in terms of their nationality, religion, ethnic status, or linguistic status, or male, female, gender. All these rigid identities were imposed. This was actually extended to bacteria through the war metaphor in medicine, which perceived them as dangerous outsiders to be exterminated by all means. This was a period in the 19th century when Louis Pasteur discovered that bacteria were the cause of infectious disease. It was also a time when the human anatomy was being understood much better. And the body was seen as a standalone, pristine thing that was pure, but was contaminated by bacteria. So the idea was that bacteria, viruses were not discovered at that time, but bacteria were coming in from outside. Today, we know that they're part of the microbiome. They're already inside us when you're born. So the idea of the war metaphor in medicine, where you treat bacteria as enemies, and enemies can mean a very wide range of things. It could be actually somebody invading your territory, like the bacteria is imagined to do in the context of the human body, or it could be an illegal migrant, anybody who trespasses on your property, or even somebody you don't agree with. And all these dangerous outsiders were sought to be exterminated by all means. And so when a doctor prescribes antibiotics needlessly, he or she behaves like a lynch mob, out to hang someone on mere suspicion of a crime. The characteristic of modern civilization is rule of law and due process and a fair trial to everybody being innocent till they're proven guilty. But bacteria usually don't get that treatment. Of course, they're not human, but that we'll come to later. So what exactly is the problem with the war metaphor? In a scientific term, it's not just the cultural or the social implications of the war metaphor. But in scientific terms, war metaphor has become the dominant way of dealing with bacteria, viruses, and other microbial parasites for over a century now. The primary problem with the war metaphor is that it's based on a very mechanical understanding of how these invisible organisms operate. For example, the concept that the higher the dosage of antibiotic use, the higher the chance of eliminating all the infection-causing bacteria is a very deeply ingrained idea. It's partly true, but the consequences of this approach are not well understood, though it's beginning to be understood now. The principle behind this higher dosage, higher impact is basically comes from Newtonian physics, which says the greater the force used, greater will be the momentum or the impact. It has been a strategy with diminishing returns for many decades now. And one of the main downsides is the rapid spread of antibiotic resistance around the globe. What exactly is the problem with the mechanical Newtonian approach? It's that bacteria, like all forms of life, are often guided in their actions and responses by non-linear processes. That is, they exercise a choice. First of all, they're alive. So it's not that they're passive objects that you can shoot down with your antibiotics. If you do something to them, they will at least try to survive. If you will, to attribute resistance to individual bacteria as a conscious process, maybe stretching it a bit far. But they're living organisms and they respond to external threats in their own way and in unpredictable ways. And resistance is what we see in medicine. The resistance of bacteria to all kinds of antibiotics is one consequences of the bacteria responding, or the context of the bacteria responding, as in the huge numbers of bacteria, the genetic diversity, and how every time you use an antibiotic, you're selecting the resistant bacteria as you go along. What the non-linear process I refer to here means is that the path to understanding bacteria, living with them, or even taming them if necessary, does not lie along any straight line. They actually follow patterns that are as aesthetically beautiful as they are intricate and utilitarian. Like this image I put here from one of the paintings of Eshel Ben Jacob, who used to culture bacteria in a petri dish, photograph them, and paint them in a computer. And you can see the intricate patterns here. And these are the patterns which anybody familiar with biology would, particularly zoology, would also find all through nature. These are very intricate patterns and they keep recurring in nature. And there's no straight line here. Whereas our Newtonian approach to bacteria is along a straight line. What we understand today is that there are no insiders and outsiders when it comes to bacteria. New research in the past 2 decades has revealed the stunning scale and diversity of the bacterial world, and in particular, their crucial role in human survival. Bacteria are a part of us. They're an organ of the body in the modern understanding in medicine. They're not outsiders, they are us. So if you kill bacteria, in some ways you're killing a part of you. In fact, bacteria are also part of a very ancient and extremely rich ecosystem of organisms that are indispensable to all life on planet Earth. Instead of being seen only as a threat, could bacterial resistance offer us some lessons on adaptation and survival in the era of climate change? Bacteria have been around on the planet for close to 4 billion years, and the Earth is 4.5 billion years old. So they have survived all kinds of climatic conditions and contexts, and in fact, kept the flag of life flying high on this planet, and we are a consequence of that. We could human beings are probably the biggest mistake bacteria made, but that's a different issue. Point being that we have to, instead of looking at them as adversaries and as enemies to be vanquished, we have to turn the entire paradigm around to see, is there something we can learn from them? Because bacteria are much more than infectious diseases. And this obsession with diseases is basically comes from the physician's point of view, which is understandable. I mean, if you ask a cobbler, what are the problems of the world, he will refer to the bad shoes people are wearing. And that's true of every profession. Everybody looks at the world from the lens that they're trained to look at. And the doctor thinks of it in terms of pharmaceutical products and anatomy, physiology, pathology. But there are other ways of looking at bacteria also. And bacteria, this is a bacterial planet we are living in. What are the processes and principles at work within the bacterial world that are worth emulating in our own collective behavior as human beings? And here, while we recognize antimicrobial resistance as a threat, the fact is that we are faced with even much bigger threats. One of them being climate change, which is visible and has an impact on all of us as we speak today. So what is there to learn from bacteria, which is going beyond the lens of antimicrobial resistance alone? And strange as it may sound, is it possible to stop fighting them perpetually and learn to dance with the bacteria, as we saw in the song and the video that was played earlier? It is my contention that done with great humility and wisdom, learning from bacteria, the oldest and most numerous organisms on our planet, can help the human species undo past mistakes and pave the way for a far more sustainable future. What are some of these lessons? The first one is conserving diversity. Diversity is essential because that is the mechanism by which bacteria actually survive. If bacteria were made of the same genetic structure, all of them, they would have vanished long ago, and even we would not be there. The earliest bacteria made mistakes while copying their own genetic codes. And these mistakes were what led to the evolution of life. So one lesson could also be that making mistakes is a good thing. But diversity is the primary point here. The second point is adapting to change. And as I've already explained, the changing context of the planet, the ice age and high temperatures, lack of oxygen, the atmospheric gases being in a completely different proportion what it is today. All these were contexts which the bacteria survived. I think that human species, it has to survive, will have to learn to adapt to change. The other point that comes through from studying bacteria is that they work collectively. There's no such thing really as an individual bacteria. They work in colonies and very large colonies, and they signal messages to each other rapidly, and there's a whole collective process. So when you talk about bacteria, that's why the metaphor of the silver antibiotic is a silver bullet doesn't work. A bullet kills one bacteria. You're dealing with a completely different force, which is not individual at all. And in some ways, that's actually true of human beings also. While we would like to believe we are individuals, we are not. I mean, it's quite obvious, but just to press the point, individuals cannot survive on this planet as individuals. You need collective efforts, collective history, collective contributions for human survival. And that is a very important lesson to learn from the bacteria. The other point is balanced consumption. One of the characteristics of bacteria is that they really never consume more than what they need at that particular moment. And this is done, this is found through various experiments where you culture the bacteria in a medium where there's plenty of nutrition. They don't keep growing till all the supplies are finished. They stop at some point, and they form all these beautiful patterns that we saw in the painting earlier. So human beings have to learn again that there is a limit to how much you can consume. And consumption in the human context is not just about immediate need. It is about this terrible thing called planning for the future, where you keep planning for the future and forget to live in the present. And you destroy the future also in the process. So there is something to be learned from bacteria about living in the present.
And
another point.
Almost time up, Satya. Could you?
The last point.
Yeah.
The other point is about moving with the ecological cycle. We have to accept that we are all part of large ecological cycles of birth, life, and death. Accepting all three of them is important, not just the first two. At the very least, what is needed is the acknowledgement that bacteria dance to a different rhythm than the monotonous beat of marching drums and jackboots. The metaphor of dancing with the bacteria is one possible alternative to the metaphor of war. A dance does not imply a surrender of one dancer to the other, or a domination either. Dance is simply the art and science of moving together in the same space to a background music without stepping on each other's toes. It calls upon the dancers to pay attention to history, tradition, culture, the ambience, the mood, and even the audience all at once, without skipping a single beat. It is never too late to turn all our battlefields into dance floors. Thank you.
Thank you, Satya. Wonderful, lots to think about there. And dancing as a metaphor of our times, please start to share some of your thoughts and reactions in the chat function. Now, let me introduce Silvana Figar. She's a physician trained in epidemiology at the London School of Hygiene and Trop Med. She presently coordinates the epidemiology section of the medical clinical service and the population research area of the Hospital Italiano in Buenos Aires in Argentina. She's, amongst other roles, the director of the Council of Epidemiology of the Argentine Society of Medicine to promote salutogenic networks. What's that? Well, it's looking for the causes of health rather than the causes of illness. So Silvana, tell us something about why and how to dance with bacteria. Over to you.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Does Red has my video? Can you pass my video, or if not, I will share my screen.
Yeah, you can share the screen, please, Silvana.
Sorry, can you repeat? I have a bad internet connection.
You can share your screen, Silvana.
Can you see?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm Silvana Figar. I am a medical epidemiologist. I'm going to talk about enhanced holistic medical practice to reduce antimicrobial resistance. Some facts that physicians and people should know. First of all, we have not been able to produce new antibiotics for resistant bacteria for the last 30 years. Second, 1,000 tons of antibiotics are used annually, but 70% are used to grow and non-therapeutic use in livestock. This is because antibiotics increase the livestock weight by 15%. If you see, only 9% of antibiotics is used for human infections. So, bacterial resistance begins in animals that are raised in this way. And there are studies that show that pigs and pig farm workers share their microbiome. You know that staphylococcus resistance is in the ancestry of pigs and farm workers. Another thing we must know is the herbicide glyphosate was discovered as a broad-spectrum antibiotic. This means that our healthy gut flora is killed by glyphosate. So the human cycle is the start point of the antibiotic resistance cycle. And it is imperative to embrace committed actions and understand the facts that are concatenated in a process. For instance, as a physician, Next. If we are exploring the root cause of a urinary tract infection, should we, as a doctor, ask what substances are eliminated in the urine? Do that substances possess toxic property? Does the patient consume food with glyphosate or antibiotics? Is it necessary to measure glyphosate in urine in recurrent infections? We have been able at the Hospital Italiano de Buenos Aires to validate the possibility to measure in urine very, very low amount of glyphosate. So does the doctor know that glyphosate is a broad spectrum antibiotic and it can be killing the microbiota of that patient? And that's maybe one cause of urinary tract infection? Does the doctor know that 70% of antibiotics are used in animal farms, but not for treatment infections, just to grow them up? So, till this point, what we must know is that antimicrobial resistance is just an adaptation to aggressive human activity. Despite the negative connotation attached to germs, antibiotic multi-resistance, AMR, is a property to adapt the system to human activity. So the AMR is a medical problem, obviously, but its solutions relies on community because it starts in human activities. AMR teaches us not to consider it as a problem to combat, rather to imagine how to create an ambience where germs reverse AMR. And we can do that. We are able now to create human activities centered on biocentrism. To learn how, Riyadh offer you a free download book. In English, in Spanish is Reflections, and I think it will be translated to English, and you can download it from Riyadh webpage. In that book, we try to teach how to dance with bacteria, how to create diversity in community. And I give you here a simple recipe where bacteria lay down their weapons. That means throw away their AMR plasmids. If you manage to do a diet for 10 days in a row, dedicate yourself to eating diverse food without any industrial processing and eating food without any agrochemicals, this is the start point. But do you think you managed to cook real food in your city? Without preservatives, additives, dyes, glyphosate, or antibiotics? Well, to dance with bacteria, we must, as physicians, change medical indications to social medical prescriptions. What does it mean? First, get together with your neighbors or your social nets. Second, start a community action to recover the food chain for real. Third, the change begins by knowing who the closest agroecological producers are, and continue generating the availability of their food in your neighborhood. If you do this, these actions require you to be active, dialogic, cooperative, community-minded, all adjectives that bacteria do with each other and with their context. So, time for good news. If you manage to follow a real food diet just for 10 days, your intestine will colonize with bacteria diversity, which will cause those bacteria that had grown in an unbalanced way, the most resistant, to decrease. We give you more good news. Science has shown that what we eat is what our bacteria want to eat. Then we will look for the means to get the food. Our behavior will change and will lead us to value the earth, but most important, to help those who care for the earth today. So let me share even more good news. A good diet can heal the symptoms of chronic diseases, fatigue, apathy, lack of motivation. These symptoms have become more and more frequent at medical consults. The causes are not only lack of bacteria within our bodies, but also in the environment. Lack of environmental diversity makes us weak and sick persons. So let's remedy the earth. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Silvana. How wonderful. Creating an ambience where germs reverse their antimicrobial resistance, and such wonderful focus on what we can do as ordinary, everyday people in our communities. Thank you. So please, reactions into the chat, your thoughts, your questions, your ideas. Now, I would like to invite Sophia Wood, who's a designer and a creative director in Stockholm, and also part-time teacher of visual communication at Beckman's Design School in Uppsala in Sweden. She's had a long experience also in London and New York. She's passionate about the importance of collaborations across disciplines, ages, borders, and between arts and science, where she describes she loves the meeting and the colliding to find new ways of opening our hearts and our minds to research and science, new formats that wake our curiosity, real dialogues that contribute to empathy and understanding, and new experiences with knowledge that stays with us and makes us feel and react. She's a very passionate woman. Please, Sophia, talk to us about how you go about bringing the beauty and the knowledge of medicine and art to us.
Oh my goodness, Mary, this is amazing. I love that introduction. So beautiful and so special. And thank you also, Satya and Silvana, for really lovely presentations. And thank you, Arturo, for inviting me to be part of this really special event and this really important collaboration across boundaries, across borders, across disciplines. I'm going to see if I can find a way to share my screen, and bear with me 2 seconds so I can do this in a good way. Hold on. Share. What do we see now? We see everything.
Yes, we see.
Slideshow. Okay. Mary, this was so I'm a little bit humbled because I feel like I can't really step up the game that all of you have done in the work with this on this topic. So please let me say that all I know is a tiny little morsel of what you are all working on continuously. So I would like to share with you a very small project that has become a really big project because it engaged all of us, my students and myself. We called it Are We Here Yet? And this is a brief introduction to, can you hear me okay? Can you see everything?
Yes, perfect.
You're okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel a little bit silly because I feel like and you need to take whatever I say and whatever we have done. This is a small corner of something that you are working on really deeply. But it's a project that we worked on, and it's a collaboration with scientists and students and Svensk 10. This is me. Mary already gave an introduction, but I come from an arts background. I've lived in London, I've worked in New York, I've come back to Sweden 2014, and since then I've been in education pretty much 50%, and the rest of my time is I'm focusing on working on sort of experimental, collaborative, interdisciplinary projects. And basically I was honored to be allowed to run this project at Beckman's College of design with the second year students this year. So this is a project that's been going on for since 2017, and it was initiated by one of the head teachers on our program, which is the visual communication program, and basically it sort of aims to open up new formats and languages for research and visual communication, so that the students can work with real challenges or problems or whatever is going on in our world, which is both super exciting and really relevant. And why Svenskt Tenn is involved is because Svenskt Tenn is owned by Kjell and Märta Beyer Foundation, and all the proceeds generated by the company goes towards research and preservation of Swedish craftsmanship and culture on the one hand, and on the other hand, institutes are funded through the foundation, and one of them is the Beyer Institute at the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences. So that's why it's going on. And this year, oh, sorry. So for us then, coming from an arts background and coming from a design background, we need to understand that we need to hold hands and join forces, and we need to help to understand. We need to find ways of helping to understand better and to process and to get involved in what's going on. So this initiative investigates the importance of finding new formats and touch points, exploring new ways of sharing knowledge across disciplines in order to go beyond norms and old habits, and to give research new visual expression. And I think that's, Mary, what you asked me yesterday, what the researchers were learning, but I can come back to that. But I think that is one of the new things, because it's like giving form to finding new ways of expressing research and knowledge, and to spread the information so that we can both feel it and act upon it. And I think also, in order for not having this perspective of reaction, actually a co-creation is what is the future, because it concerns all of us. Just like both Sacha and Silvana have said, we need to collaborate, and we need to find ways of working together. So why are we addressing this, and why is it meaningful? So this year we worked we have worked on different topics, but this year was antibiotic resistance, and I think also one of the perspectives of why this was interesting for our students who work within visual communication is that we are bombarded with fact resistance, alternative facts, alternative truths, and we also seem to navigate in these kind of isolated bubbles, and we have trouble to take in difficult information, and because this antibiotic resistance is referred to as the silent pandemic, and we had articles during our project saying that in Sweden, one of the main Swedish newspapers saying that scientists are frustrated and desperate because they're not being listened to. We found that really amazing and really inspiring to try to find new ways of sharing the knowledge, sharing the information. So we need to find, so in this sense then, we need to find new ways of communicating research, and to do so we need to cross the language barriers of different disciplines, and we need to challenge traditional methods so we can find new meaningful connections. And also those joyous, inspiring dialogues that spark new trains of thought, and with the aim to engage different intelligences and insights to truly touch and transform, and help us reshape and make joint decisions about healthier planets, planetary future together. So I think that's like a key for our students to know that we have weapons, we have tools that we can actually, or rather weapons, but we can dance together and we can make this work together. So that's really important for us in terms of teaching.
Sophia, a little time reminder.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
so here goes. I'm going to show you a brief film about the students' projects. It's about 3 minutes. I hope it works on my screen. Please let me know if it lags. And I'm going to zoom through the 7 projects that are working as a sort of a chorus of different voices. So we have Facing Our Future, Points of Touch, Misconceptions, Muddy Waters, Under Your Skin, Use with Caution, and Conversation Pieces. Here's a testimonial from Max Terrell, who was my co-partner in running the course. It was a 5-week course that the students did, and here's what the researchers had to say about the collaboration.
Hello, everyone. this year's collaboration with Beckman Art School being a very interesting experience. And our initial discussions with the students showed upon a rather low awareness of the problem, but also on a keen interest to know more. It forces us researchers to simplify our research, but it also gives the opportunity to get questions that we are not used to. And we were amazed how the students transformed and translated the research and the challenges into fantastic art pieces. And this kind of collaboration is very important to get important messages out about global challenges.
So that was Max.
Hello, everyone.
Sorry.
This year's
Okay.
collaboration with Beckman
Stop.
Art School being
Stop,
a
stop,
very
stop, stop.
interesting experience.
Oh my goodness, stop,
Okay,
stop,
we have to wind up,
Sort of
Sophia.
Yeah.
low awareness.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. You're on mute, Sophia.
Sorry, I apologize. To summarize, this was really special and it was exciting for us to work with the most forefront researchers and get a chance for them to work right at the heart of urgent research. And so, in all honesty, this was really, really special. And I think this is a way forward to hold hands, to collaborate, and for students to work with across generations, across borders, across disciplines. So that's all. Sorry to take you up, take too much time. Thank you.
Thank you. It's fascinating and beautiful. And now we have another treat for you. I want to introduce Alexis Zapata. He's an Ecuadorian musician, a conductor of traditional orchestras, an educator, a researcher, and composer. His published compositions include Sinfonia Andina de los Siete Glaciares, Bosque Sinfónico, Suite del Fuego, and Danzando con las Bacterias, Dancing with Bacteria, among others. Alexis is affiliated with the University of the Americas in Ecuador and has received notable awards for his musical contributions. He's going to share some insights into the creative process of academics and artists behind Dancing with Bacteria. Hello, Alexis.
Hello, thank you, Mary.
We can't hear you, Alexis.
Okay, just a second. Could you hear me now?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Just a second. Okay, I'm ready.
Right.
Welcome to this conference where I will explain the creative process behind the musical composition of the piece Dancing with the Bacteria. My name is Alexis Zapata. I'm from Ecuador. I am musician, composer, and university lecturer in Quito. Today, it is necessary to recognize that the invisible, challenging, complex, and mysterious world of bacteria needs to be approached and investigated from multiple perspectives. Art can also help us understand and recognize ourselves as part of a vast world. Since the early days of studying microorganisms, art has contributed to their understanding. In the 17th century, Anthony van Leeuwenhoek, although not a professional artist, helped other scientists gain a better understanding of microorganisms through his detailed illustrations of bacteria and protozoa. Using microscopes, he crafted himself. As an artist, I have also felt the need to contribute to the understanding of the bacterial world through my music. But why through music? Because music is the first language of humanity. Before we learned to communicate through words, we did so through sound. That's why it's such an important art form for our communities. Furthermore, it's important to understand bacteria for different perspectives, as they are the oldest and most numerous organisms on the planet. They are our ancestors, and we have more bacteria in our bodies than cells. They are truly marvelous beings that make life is possible. If we approach bacteria with humility and wisdom, they can inspire us and we can learn from them. Through music, we can understand ourselves and learn to dance with the bacteria. Okay, based on this fascinating article about fossilized microorganisms that could be the oldest on Earth, I have created a compositional system that contributes to understanding of bacteria as our ancestors, as beings that are crucial for life on the planet and not simple enemies to be exterminated by any means. To create this compositional system, I associated a musical sound with each element of the chemical reaction that describes these fossilized organisms. To assign this sound, I used the melodic core, which is a sound formation present in all ancestral cultures and is imprinted in our genetic memory. Thus, the notes of the melodic core, B, D, and E, can musically describe the chemical reaction behind the primordial bacteria. The fourth note, which gives the identity of the skull, was associated with iron, which is also a distinctive element in the chemical reaction. Okay, this is the sound I assigned to carbon. This is the hydrogen, and this is the oxygen. The fourth note of iron is the note G. And we hear in this melody the sound of acetic acid, the first part of the chemical reaction. Continuing with the development of the melody based on this principle, I obtained a surprising result, a musical system inspired by the bacterial world. This is the complete melody. And then, once we have the melody, we need to add the following elements: harmony and rhythm. The harmony was worked out based on harmonization resulting from the process of assigning the sounds to the chemical reaction. I used a traditional musical instrument from Ecuador, a unique pan flute, specifically designed to play 2 or 3 tubes simultaneously. From this instrument, the melodies were harmonized. This is the instrument, the Ecuadorian pan flute, and I could play more than one sound simultaneously. Finally, the rhythm is the result of my exploration of traditional Andean music genres, which have been conceived for millennia as music for healing, reflection, and raising community awareness. The work also explores dance inspired by bacterial movements, a research process led by choreographer Matteo Robalino and his cast. In summary, this is the creative process behind the composition of the musical piece Dancing with the Bacteria. However, there is one final important element that arises from the beautiful encounters, contributions, texts, bibliography, and support of Satya, Mary, Arturo, and many other people. I am grateful for all those who have contributed and continue to contribute to this work. I also thank all of you for being here, for listening to me, and giving me this magnificent opportunity. This is the path I have taken to link art with our oldest and most numerous ancestors, bacteria. It's time for the humanity to understand that we have more than the dilemma of going to war with bacteria or surrendering to them. Ultimately, we must learn to dance with bacteria. It's a complex dance in which we maintain a respectful distance but never cease, because we cannot live without each other. I invite you to explore our complete work by scanning the QR code. Thank you.
Very, very beautiful, Alexis. Thank you so much. It's quite extraordinary. Well, this is a very rich material that we have been presented with from all four people. And of course, it takes more time to express and present these, and the passion and the creativity and those transformative elements that I think are hitting all of us. So with your permission, I'm going to change the program just a little. I would like to ask Silvana to present to us her fantastic idea of how do we start to dance with bacteria. And she has a small video. Then I'm going to ask Janet to get all of the participants onto the Padlet to share your ideas of what we can do together. And while you are putting your ideas in there, I'm going to ask the panel a couple of questions and try to get them also to react to some of the points you've been putting up in the chat. I would like to protect everyone's time, but I want to make the most of this opportunity. And we will go out at the end a slightly over time with another excerpt from Alexis Groups, from the music that he's just explained how it came about. So Silvana, could you talk to us about how do we start dancing with bacteria?
Hello. Okay. Well, I think that we can see everywhere the lemniscate or infinitive ribbon or Moebius strip learning process. If you see the person walking in the outside part of the strip, after passing that area, the person will be walking inside. And if you do this all the time, sometimes you are outside and then inside. So what does this mean? In the outside part, we learn from the context. What's new? We are in the unknown area where there are chaos, creativities, only ideas, no forms. It's the place of innovation, the creativity. So when you pass this part, the passage area, first you must be have the force to pass, because we feel fear of uncertainty. We are resistant to change. We ask, how do we continue? So we like to be in the inside part, where the ideas have forms, are protocolized, is a comfort zone, security part. The pattern is always the same. Our thinking is more rigid. So this process is life. And we can see the lemniscate process everywhere. I consider bacteria as complex systems, can receive information from the context and quickly pass the point of passage. But they don't do that in an individually way. So this is what we have to learn from bacteria, the power of cooperation to pass the passage point, to be in the more creative area where the context talk us with ideas. We know that if the context is no longer aggressive, the antimicrobial resistance disappears. In the same way, we can cooperate to stop surviving individually at the expense of others. But to do this, our context condition must change. That's a problem. So, as this is a dialogue between science, art, I found in my singing classes also the lemniscate. When we sing, imagine this process. Can you see it? Oh.
I wonder if we can ask Juan Carlos to put up that video, because the sound is not coming through.
Wait.
Yeah, okay.
Was it clear?
Yes.
Okay, I have a compartir.
Thank you. How we move from through fear to creativity. Thank you. Okay, Janet, we now we're going to ask you to work together very fast. The slogan for World Microbiome Day is microbes and food. So now we're going to work a little bit together, and it only works if we work together, like Planetary Health. So we have the Padlet platform, and we're going to ask you to put your ideas into 4 questions. Janet, over to you.
Right. Yes, so if you can go to the link that's in the beginning of the chat. I put up the link to the Padlet.
And Juan Carlos, can you share the Padlet screen?
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I can share the
Great. Thank you.
In fact, I see already there are some extra posts, which is great. I think that, as Mary said, it's often just those small steps that we each take that ultimately become a movement, you know, and everything, everybody becomes involved. I think we need to actually start doing those things. And so this is really canvassing ways in which we as individuals can start doing those small things that will ultimately be done by many people and then becomes a powerful movement for change and change in attitudes as much as it is subsequently a change in our environment. And so I think Mary's comment on number 4, what would we ask of academics and artists on World Microbiome Day? And Mary has said simply start a project with an artist you know. And it can be any kind of project. I mean, we've seen some exquisitely beautiful, excuse me, collaborations with other forms, with music, with dance. I know in my area that there are quite a lot of artists who work in a much more distributed way than they used to. Instead of being in their own studio, what they do is link up with artists around the world. I was involved myself in a 6x6 project where we each made something that was important in our lives, and we sent 5 of them off. They were unfinished, and we sent 5 of them off to the other participants. Everybody did this, so everyone finished 6 works, bringing to it what was important to them. And so I think that kind of thing might be a way in which we can start affecting change in our attitude to bacteria, our attitude to the microbiome, instead of regarding it as poisonous and the enemy. If we start to regard it as another player in the game, the dance that we're all involved in. I see that Monica has added here, what can we do under the what can we do to preserve our microbial health, recognizing that they exist. I mean, that's such a big step because most people don't give any thought to things that they can't see. And we're in an increasingly visual world that is mediated by social media. Again, in my field, there is a thing now called the Instagram pot. And I was listening to a program that was talking about the Instagram meal. And it's about the visual presentation, not about the taste, not about the heart of the matter. So I think that recognition that Monica has said there, would you like to talk a bit more on that, Monica? Is Monica still with us?
Let's see. I think
I've
so.
now gone over to the Padlet.
Monica, yeah.
Monica is still with us.
Monica, would you like to talk more to your idea?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Yes, I think I am a midwife, and so it is important to recognize because, for example, in the women's health, there is a lot of bacteria that they know that they exist, and they think they have to fight against them instead of take care. For example, the bacteria, the microbiota that is living in the vagina. So that is my thought when I wrote in the Padlet. Thank you.
Tatiana responds to number 3 by saying preserving forests and promoting food production systems that aren't based in killing forms of life, using herbicides, insecticides, antibiotics, agroecology, for example. I'm just wondering, in all of this, what happens when we actually interfere with the basic design of the things that we eat, and we have genetically modified food? If we have a genetically modified form of food that doesn't require the insecticides, that it is resistant because of its DNA, how does that fit into our concern for the microbiome? You know, if we change the environment in which microbes live, perhaps we are threatening their existence. A deafening silence.
Silvana, do you have something to say to that?
Sorry, my connection is not very good. I couldn't hear well the question.
It was a little bit left field. I was just saying that, you know, often to improve yields and to improve the resistance of the things that we eat when they're being grown, we use genetically modified forms of them. So where does that fit in? Because in genetically modifying them, what we're probably doing is denying an ecological niche for some of the microbes. Is that something we should be very careful about, or is it something that is okay?
GMO is done to be able to resist the herbicide. That's why the modification in the gene is done. So we use herbicide, more resistance each time. There are a lot of evidence, for instance, for glyphosate, that is not only herbicide, it's also, as I show, an antibiotic of broad spectrum, and some different animals exposed to very low amount of glyphosate develop in how to say it, with disease in their urinary tubes. I don't know if I explain it well in English, but GMO modifications are done to allow higher and higher doses of different products, and that are done to increase the production.
Yes.
That's the point.
Yes, yes, and then what we do also is we are able to feed a lot more people. Maybe the problem is the population. Is that Monica's comment, the one that's below her first comment, which says the first step would be to calm ourselves internally to a point where this question becomes understandable? I think that's a very good point, that when we have big questions, that we need to stand back a bit before we act and work out exactly what we mean by it. And her comment that good music, dance, and art can help us come back to the present from all the other time zones we're constantly wandering in. And I think that's something that perhaps is important across all of those areas, is that coming back to the present, being present, so that we can see clearly what we're doing and what needs to be done.
Okay, Janet, I think that we need to move on.
Yes.
We're getting close to the end of our time. Oh, very good. We've got some more contributions. What I wanted to say is that this is a shared platform. We can continue to put ideas in here, and this is important because we really do have the possibility to create a movement with artists, everyday people, scientists for the life and the health of the planet. So I really encourage you to keep in touch through React Latin America, where the video and the recording of the dialogue and the chat will be available. And Juan Carlos will, this platform we will try to develop. And also look for a brief capturing of the essence of the dialogue prepared by Peter Cameron in the next couple of days on the React Latin American Facebook page, and more resources as they become available. I think that we need to do another dialogue because there was so much rich material here to chew on and to think about, and there's so much more that I feel that will come out from people as we think about it. So please put your ideas, continue to put them onto the Padlet. You have the link at the end. Save the chat function on your computer, and let's keep working together in our individual actions, which we share become our community actions, and it slowly grows. And there's a lot of knowledge that we have together, and a lot of processes with artists, and all of the ways in which we change our senses and feel and think in a different way. I would now like to ask Tatiana Souza de Camargo, who's a professor in the Faculty of Education in the Federal University of Rio Grande do Sul in Brazil. She's a member of the Planetary Health Alliance based at Harvard University, and a member of the Planetary Health Study Group at an Institute for Advanced Studies at her university. I would like to ask you for some closing remarks, Tatiana, before then we go out with some more of Alexis' wonderful music.
Okay. Thank you, Mary, and thank you all for all presenters of this morning, here in Brazil this morning, for all the powerful presentations shared here, the art, the music, the words, and the ideas. And to close this and to compilate a little, I would like first to talk about what is for me and for the people with which I work, what is planetary health? Planetary health is a concept, a field of research, and but it's a solutions-oriented concept and field of research, and it is also a social movement. So the first idea here I want to close, that all the participants goes out today, is the idea of the movement and a call to action. So planetary health is this concept and this social movement that proposes that human health is profoundly intertwined and related with the health of all natural systems and all other forms of life. Since the most micro lives as bacteria and fungi and other forms of life, but human health is also, and the micro health, the micro life is health also is dependent and related to the macro systems of our planet, as climate, as rains, winds, oceans, rivers. So planetary health is a way of thinking this without disconnection, thinking how can we face human health and human care, healthcare, without forget all those scales and elements that we should consider. So given this and having this an idea, what I believe that, and I would like to share with you my thoughts here, is that we live a climate crisis, but it's not the Anthropocene or a climate crisis. We discuss a lot in the Planetary Health Group that this is much more profound. This is a spiritual crisis. And the spiritual crisis, they are not soluted just with science and with logic and with politics. A spiritual crisis that I would like to share here is how I feel what we are living in. And just to going out of this, we need a shift in the way of how we relate to nature. We need to stop thinking nature as a resource, as a resource to the progress of mankind, and to see another possibilities of relation. And I believe that here, what the presenters showed us is through art, through music, through other ways of touching our spiritual that is wounded and needs to heal. It helps us to the art help us to see and to create new narratives, to go to the imagination challenge, to the knowledge challenge, and to conduct us to the implementation challenge that we need. Through all these phases of the shift, I believe that art is powerful to give us the ways of dancing with bacteria, of see these lessons that we could learn with bacteria to face these challenges that we'll need to face. And so I believe that art has its central role to solve and to guide us to this great transition that we need, this new way of living in the planet. So to close here, I would like to share with you one document that we prepared in the Planetary Health Alliance, which is called São Paulo Declaration.
You're on mute, Tatiana. Tatiana, you're on mute.
Now?
Oh, it's fine now. It's fine.
What happens is when I share my screen, I will be muted. I don't know why, but what I would like to share with you, and I could send you after, and I will put in chat the link, is the São Paulo Declaration of Planetary Health, which is actually a call to action. In this declaration, we call to 19 different stakeholders, and we have more, but we call to artists, teachers, families, communities, doctors, and all society sectors, how they could act in their daily life and daily basis to this shift, to activate this shift that we need through planetary health, to new relationships with micro and macrobiome. So I believe that for close, I would like just to say to you that everybody has its role, everybody is important in this movement. So based in the declaration and also inspired by the slogan, the title of the Microbiome Day of this year, that is Transform Our Food Systems, I would like to call you to rethink how can you all change just a little bit of your life in this way to promote this shift, to promote this transformation of food system. Maybe it could start with small things, but all of us has a lot of things to do. And the idea of planetary health is not to start big. We need a big transition, but these big transitions will start and we'll go through our small transitions in our daily life. So I believe that is all. And now I will pass to the music and to let this music inspires us in this spiritual shift that we need to another relation with the microbiome in our planet.
Thank you, Tatiana. Please share the link to the São Paulo Declaration.
Okay, I will
Juan
put
Carlos.
this now.
Thank you. This last video clip is called I Will Be the Light and Decision from the Dancing with Bacteria. It's the perfect title for us to go away with. We'll see you again soon. Please, Juan Carlos.
Pueblos, artistas, soñadores, jóvenes, científicas, académicos, obreros, niñas, trabajadores del campo. Todos nos unimos hoy por la salud de nuestra Pachamamita. Seremos la luz, seremos la decisión.
Si un deseo me concediera el pájaro brujo de los Andes, más conciencia y resiliencia pediría en mi tierra. Y aunque pensaría en mi hija, en mi padre y en mi madre, su amor también se iría si nuestra tierra así lo haría. Pensaría también en mi vida, pero aquello es insignificante. Más vale el bien de todos que de un simple caminante.
Mary, can you continue?
Okay, now we say goodbye to you all, and thank you for being part of it. Please stay in touch. If there's anyone wants to stay online and share some reflections for a little while, please do so. Otherwise, we know many of you have to go. Thank you. Please stay in touch. Share your
Thank you very
reflections.
much to everybody. It was so
Thank you.
wonderful, too nice to see you and to learn from you and also from bacteria this morning. We will continue working in the same path, looking for new talks, new alliances, and new dialogues. Thank you very much, and have a good night, those who are at the other side of the planet. Ciao.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Ciao. Thank you.
Ciao.
Thank
Everybody.
you.
Muchas
Bye
gracias.
bye. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Sophia. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.